Alright, so I'm going to look at the ACT stuff on 1.7. It's one of the back pages in the math section, and there's some stuff in there that you ain't going to like. There's some good stuff in there that you will, but there's some stuff in there that's pretty rough. One of them's a real bear of a problem. Alright, so we have here, we have step functions. We just learned how to do those in Algebra 2. ABC cabs and taxi cabs have initial fares of a whole number of dollars for one passenger. The fare increases a whole number of dollars at each whole number of miles traveled. The graphs below show one passenger fares in dollars for both cabs. When the fares of the two cab companies are compared, what is the cheaper fare for a 5-mile trip? All right, so 5 miles here is going to pass right through that hole in the graph and end up here. So a 5-mile fare here is $12. 5 miles here is going to pass through that hole and hit right there, which looks like $9. Interpreting graphs, not a hard skill. Let's see, we have a graph of function f of x. It consists of 3 line segments, must be a piecewise graph. The graph and the coordinates of the endpoints of the 3 line segments are shown in standard plane. What is the area in square coordinate units of the region bounded by the graph of y equals f of x, the positive y-axis, and the positive x-axis? So they want you to find this shaded region. And what I see is I see 2 triangles and a rectangle. That's what I see. All right. There's this little bitty rectangle. You have to kind of use your eyes here. This length would be from 3 to 4, which is 1. This length would be 2. And area is 1/2 base times height. So it's just 1. All right, there's this presumably square. Kind of looks like a square. It's got to be the way this thing is drawn. To the right, 3 up, 3 forms it. So it's a 3 by 3. So its area is 3 squared, which is 9. So let's see, what have I got? I've got a 1, I've got a 9, and then I've got this little triangle. The x-coordinates run from 3 to 5 as a base of 2. And if I follow the logic of the square, she's 3 units tall. So her area is 1/2 base times height. And that's going to be, what, 3? So there's my 3 numbers. 1 plus 9 plus 3, 13. 13 square units. This one's a lot of fun. The sum of 2 positive numbers is 151. So if I have 2 numbers, x and y, and add them together, I get 151. The lesser number is 19 more than the square root of the greater number. Oh, I love wording like this. So if I take the smaller number, if I compare the smaller number and the square root of the greater number, which I'll just call y, and it says it's 19 more. So if I take away the 19, I get equality. That's a hard equation to write. It really is. Now, what is the value of the greater number minus the lesser number? Well, here you have a system of equations, and it's not necessarily a fun system of equations, but you have and look how they're asking. They want the greater number minus the lesser number. Ugh. Anyways, I'm going to solve these for y so I can look at a graph. Y is 151 minus x. I'm going to square this side, which means I square that side. So y is also x minus a 19 all squared. And I'm going to put one of those in y1, I'm going to put the other one in y2. And we're going to see what the graph looks like. And it's going to tell me a number. Presumably it's going to tell me y. So I'm just using TI-84, which you have access to. I have no desire to do this by hand. Could. Just don't have the desire to. I'm going to have to look up to at least 151. It says 151 minus, so I'm going to y max. I'm going to set it to be 160. See what I see. There's that line. And there's an intersection. And if you know anything about quadratics. All right, this thing has a vertex at 19 to the right. So I'm going to change my x max to be something like 50. Hopefully I'll see the quadratic. And I think these are the two numbers. Second trace 5. Enter, enter, enter. I've got a y value being 121. Second trace 5. Let's go back over here and see what this one is. Enter, enter, enter. I got 144. Now, the sum of the lesser number is 19 more than the square root of the greater number. Which one of these two numbers is she? That's the real question. Well, I have this number, and it's the one I'm going to use, because I feel like it's right. So x plus 121 is 151. That means that the x value is 30. Now let's see if this makes sense. The lesser number is 19 more than the square root of the greater number. So if the greater number is 30, sorry, if the greater number is 121, square root of 121 is 11, and 30 is 19 more than 11. So my two numbers are 30 and 121. They want the value of the bigger number minus the lesser number, 91. That's a fun little question, isn't it? Most kids will guess. Let me scroll over here. I'm actually doing some in-service now. Let me scroll over here and answer this question. Continue. All right, back to this. Here's one, and it's towards the end of the test, but it's not something it's not actually high school math. It talks about mean, median, and mode. Median is the number in the middle. Mode is most often. And they want the mean, which is the average. So I'm just going to write this thing out in its correct order. 15, 30. I have no idea what x is. I have no idea what y is. 35, 41. I don't know what they are, but I'm going to assume they're somewhere in the middle. All right. The mode of the list of numbers is 15. Oh, so the 15 has to happen at least twice. All right, so let's move this over here. We're going to make x equal 15. All right. And I just left y there. I have a median of 25. Maybe this is in the wrong spot. Median's going to be in the middle, and this thing's got 6 entries. So whatever's in the middle, this is actually still in the middle. These guys have to average equal 25. So that means y is 20. So 15, 15, 20, 30, 35, 41. That's how she goes. And I just rearranged things, knowing what median and mode and stuff like that were. And the reason I know that y is 20 is because 20 and 30 is 50. If you average them together, you get 25, which is what it said the median was. Now I want the mean of the list. There's 6 things there. I just add them all together. 15, 15, 20, 30, yeah. And I divide it by 6. So I got a 15 and a 15. I got a 20, I got a 30, I got a 35, I think. And I got a 41. Now I divide by 6. And it's 26 on the money. 52 is a rough little problem. we learn here, I don't know if it'll be before this 6 weeks is over or not, but we learn obviously the quadratic formula. X equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Then we learn about the discriminant, which is the b squared minus 4ac part. And if the result, b squared minus 4ac, is greater than 0, we have two unique solutions. If b squared minus 4ac is less than 0, we have two imaginary. And if b squared minus 4ac is equal to 0, we only have one solution. That's what we learn. And you may not realize it, but these kind of things are actually in this form. Now, they're hoping you pick G, but I want more than one solution. So I can't be these, because those are imaginary concepts, being less than 0. It's really between E and G. These guys right here, they represent imaginary solutions. Now, that makes it 50-50, just knowing what the discriminant is. The hard part is cranking out the math. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, give me a second. I want to solve this for x, or what I want to solve it for. I'm going to solve this equation, rx plus sy equals t. I'm going to solve for y. So I'm going to move rx over. S times y is t minus rx. I'm going to divide through by the s. So y is t minus rx over s. And I'm going to plug it back into this one. That equation right up there. T minus rx over s is x squared. I'm going to eliminate the fraction. I'm going to s both sides. T minus rx is x squared s, which I'm going to move that s out front. And I'm going to jump everything right, because in order to solve a quadratic, you're supposed to be equal to 0. So sx squared plus rx minus t. And then I'm going to write down STD form of a quadratic, ax squared plus bx plus c. And I'm going to pick out my a, b, and c values. A is actually the letter s, b is the letter r, and c is a negative t. And remember I was talking about that b squared minus 4ac part? I'm going to plug into this. So b is going to be r squared, minus 4 times a, which is s, times a negative t. And I'm hoping for a greater than 0, so I'm just going to write down greater than 0. A negative times a negative is a positive. And there you go. I am likely one of only 3 or 4 people in the whole county who can show you how to come up with that answer. Believe it or not. Hold on, I got to ask a question. Can't answer a question over here. Sociopaths. So that was a hard one. It really was. The third and fourth terms of an arithmetic, hey, you're doing this right now, are 13 and 18 respectively. What is the 50th term? Let's see here. They don't tell me the first. They don't tell me the second. They tell me the third is 13. They tell me the fourth is 18. And then they want the 50th. Ugh. Hopefully you figured out the common difference was 5. 13 minus 5 is 8, 3. And you could sit here and you could add 5. I mean, you could find the next guy at 23. You could find the next guy at 28. And you could do that to 50th terms, but it's going to take you a minute. Or, and hear me out, You could think explicitly. That little formula right there could be the difference between you getting into community college and Knoxville. Or it could be the difference between Knoxville and Vanderbilt. Or it could be the difference between Vanderbilt and, I don't know, MIT. That little thing right there. No pressure. All right, so the first term, and I want, by the way, I want the 50th term, so I'm just going to go ahead and plug in now because I ain't got time. Ace of 1 is 3. Everywhere I see a n, I'm a 50, so 50 minus 1. Difference here was add 5, and then I crank out the math. I got 3 plus 49 fives, which is 245. Choice A. Now we're on 54. You may not realize it. There's a reason I'm going over here to get something. You see that little dude right there on your form quiz? Sine squared plus cosine squared is 1. That's what she is. And if you think about y equals 1, she's a horizontal line. Wow. That's what it looks like. Now, that being said, these are kind of, you have access to a TI-84, and when you take the ACT, your TI-84 actually needs to be in what's called radian mode, and it should be. They're supposed to be factory reset before you pick them up. But anyways, you can go to y equals. Typing in sine squared is kind of funny. You've got to do a parentheses, sine of x, close, square, plus parentheses cosine x, close, square. And then you can do a zoom 6, and what you're about to see is a horizontal line. There's a horizontal line. Now, why are they only drawing part of it? Because of the domain. Well, that's your window settings. Said the x minimum was negative pi over 2, and the x max was pi over 2. Of course, you still see the full window, but you can see the scale has changed. But anyways, it's choice H. You can use technology or whatever, or you can memorize stuff on a form quiz. There's a frickin' reason I put everything on there that I put on there. So, think about what you want your future to be and where you want it to be. Make that decision.